Welcome back, my friends. It is June 25th, 2019, 7:04 p.m. And we could finally be looking at our first named tropical storm, tropical cyclone, possible hurricane in the Pacific Ocean. It is pretty late in the season to be seeing our first one. It would be named ALVIN if it makes it to that point. They are predicting at least making it to a named tropical storm. But according to what the data is showing, what I'm seeing, the track shows it going out more towards the west than up towards the Baja region. Usually that would keep it alive a little longer, but if it heads out in this way, more than likely we're going to see it die out before it hits any extravagant number. So, again, a lot to look out for with this specific storm. We're not quite sure what's going to happen. They're showing it as a storm, and then a depression again after this coming Thursday. So it could be a quick one. It could be just one of those letter drops that we usually get early on. But again, we are late in the season for Pacific hurricanes, which leads me to believe two things. One, that the Atlantic Ocean is going to be picking up soon, or we're going to see something similar to 2017, which is going to be a lot of back-to-back storms, along with what's been going on with the continental U.S., which is what we're going to talk about right now. And you could just see by the temperatures, we have many areas that are very hot and are still hot and are under fire watches, and including that, a lot of weather. So with the weather we are currently dealing with, here are the areas of watch over the next at least 24 hours. And most of this green you see is rain. A lot of the country is under rain right now. In fact, the lightning chart kind of shows that in bulk in those certain areas that we're looking at, like Louisiana, South Florida, Iowa, as usual. We got two separate systems mixing up together. We're starting to see the lightning off to the west here as it begins to build up another round of storms, as you could see here. We'll backtrack about 18 hours ago, and you're going to start to see what this mess was down here in the Gulf that I thought was going to be an invest, but because of the interaction with land and possibly the speed it's moving, it was not able, or it was not put on charts for that reason. But with that said, if we look at, where is Tropical Tidbits? Here we go. If we look at the Bermuda high pressure here, we could still see that high pressure bubble is still keeping everything pinned even below the Leeward Islands at this point, which would actually take some of these storms over the north part of South America. So we still have the movement going on. We still have these storms coming. They get fairly strong right here, but they're being forced into this area by Cancun, even inside of Cancun itself, crossing that piece of land that sticks out off Mexico. And that's why you're seeing the high rate and high energy right here just below Texas on the other chart. So as I move forward in this chart, you see right there how everything kind of swoops up into this area like that, because it's being forced by the high pressure in the Atlantic. And that's also why this high-low pressure system up by Nova Scotia is there as well, and is also being forced up by the other side of this high-pressure bubble. We talk about this a lot, and when we see our first hurricane, that's what we're going to be talking about and seeing a lot of. And again, just to bring it back, that's why you're seeing this extreme moisture in these storms in Mexico and moving up towards Texas and now Louisiana, and that is why I showed you the lightning chart that precedes that. So right now, this is what we are dealing with in the country. We are just now seeing these storms in the west build up again, just as they pass Colorado and areas of Utah. They start blowing up right over Central America. Ground zero. Here we go again. Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa. We're going to have tornado watches again coming up. In fact, I think, let's check it out. The tornado percentage over the next 24 hours is about 5%. We've talked about the 5% number being basically a coin toss. When you get into that 10% range, you really want to be on your toes. But it's showing in Iowa, it's actually a 5-state coverage right there. The wind, though, is also going to be an issue, and the way these winds are looking right now is all because of the messed up jet stream we have, the different flows we have going all over the U.S., and you can kind of see it here again once we go back to Tropical Tidbits. You see that cyclonish looking deal up by Canada. That's forcing things downward. So all that stuff happening in the west is going to make its way this way, and it's going to have a repeat situation. So we're going to, again, we're talking about the same thing we've been talking about for weeks. This weather coming up, weather coming down, meeting at ground zero, and then just pummeling the east. We've been getting hit so hard by storms. We've had a few decent days, and it's been really hot. So we're expecting a little bit of a break from the heat, but it's going to be replaced by rain. So again, it's all about these different pressures and different situations in the atmosphere that are going to control these things. We even got that invest here marked on the buoy maps here on NDBC NOAA.gov site. So you can see that right here. This is the probably second or third time we've seen this. We had one. We had the letter A in the Atlantic Ocean. We saw that for a bit, but this is the most prominent one so far. Again, I don't believe it's going to be anything super crazy. I believe we have a little bit more time to go before we start seeing those types of storms, but certainly worth noting. And before I cut this one off, guys, we had a 7.3 that I was not able to report on when it happened yesterday, but this was a big one, and it was a deep one, so we got to keep an eye out, as always, for this area, which is completely lit up nonstop lately, and we're starting to see volcanic activity now, a lot of different warnings, and people getting basically evacuation or whatever type of evacuation you could have when things like this happen with all these small islands. They look small compared when you're dealing with a global view, but when you're seeing these types of earthquakes, guys, and how often they've been happening and what's been going on with this fault line leading all the way down to New Zealand, you have to be on your toes about this stuff. And basically every other quake you're seeing in this area is coming with some sort of tsunami warning. Yes, they are often canceled on the spot afterwards. In fact, we've had two in the last couple days that could have caused them. That 7.3 easily could have caused one. And then we had that last week big earthquake that had the threat posted up there for a significant amount of time. So with that said, I want to share one more thing with you guys. If I could find the tab. I have tabs up everywhere today. Okay, so here we go. So basically, this is, long story short, off the coast of New York, New Jersey. Basically, you see where this arrow is pointing, about 50 miles off the coast. They have found an underwater freshwater river in the ocean. And now I found this interesting because I thought I've heard of this before. It's saying a new discovery, massive freshwater reservoir found. You can thank TypeX Files for this one. It's a very interesting story. I pulled up a chart here that I'm trying to analyze myself, so bear with me here. Some of you may know more about this chart than I even do, but basically what it's showing is the salt content 50 miles out compared to a little bit farther out. Obviously, the purple is high in salinity, they're calling it, and then the areas closer to places like New Jersey, Long Island, and all the way up towards Martha's Vineyard, and we're talking Connecticut. We all know the Long Island Sound is less salty than out in the far ocean. But in these areas here, if I'm not mistaken, they're talking about these two areas here, like these underwater rivers of fresh water either seeping out, and then it looks like these are pointing in a direction where they're actually flowing inward toward places like Island Beach or Seagirt. It's hard to really read this chart. I'm going to look into it some more. But basically they're saying there is a freshwater river trapped underneath the salt water right off the coast of the Northeast, which is very interesting. And now they're going to apply it to how that may affect weather. And, you know, it could be a thing that describes nor'easters. You know, nor'easters are very prone in this specific area. You don't see them in many other areas. That could be something in the near future we learn about. It could be a reason why we don't see a lot of hurricanes come up this far. I mean, there could be so many different things that could relate to this type of information. Basically, we got to do some more research in it and get that to you. So with that said, I just wanted to cover those things that have been going on the past few days that I have not spoken with you. And we'll be back to our normal schedule. If not tomorrow, I should have some out tomorrow, then Thursday. going on through the rest of the week and the weekend will be multiple videos per day. So thank you guys for the patience and the comments and all the emails, everything. It means a lot to us. So thank you all again. I will be back on shortly, and have yourselves a good evening, guys. It's summer. Let's go. Bye-bye.